Hello, my friends. You know, we all know that COVID-19 has stripped us from so many of the things, life's essential things, and we've all had to reinvent ourselves and find new ways of managing and coping and connecting and just surviving, right? And as musicians, rely so heavily on the structure of the touring life. I mean, that's what everything revolves around. You make an album to promote a tour. You you have, financial concerns when you're not able to tour. The feeling of isolation. You're detached from your music community, and it doesn't feel natural, right? No, not for any of us. And the other thing, about COVID, it's kind of put an abrupt halt to everything we were all doing in our lives, all the progress we were making, all those goals we were trying to achieve. And like in the music business, we talk a lot about momentum, right? Momentum, everything is building on the last thing. One tour builds into the next tour, one album builds into the next. Your good press hopefully builds into more good press. And we were really lucky. We had great momentum behind us. And, I never took that for granted. But, there was all this excitement and noise around everything we were doing. And then COVID, and bam, silence. Nothing. And this huge void. And, then you worry about that window of opportunity. How open? How long can you remain relevant? It's something that I know all the musicians I know, we always worry about that. And it started giving me a sense that I was losing control. And I guess in a sense, we all were losing control. And that sense of losing control started creating a sense of stress and panic. And I could feel I was slipping down that rabbit hole. So it was time for me to step back. Step back and kind of reevaluate what I do in the first place. What is it that I actually do? As a songwriter, as a singer, how does that define who I am? And it really came down to the fact that I love telling stories. That's it. I love being a storyteller. And I use my songwriting and I use my voice to communicate these stories to my music community. And if I'm successful, the stories that I tell resonate with other people, and the connection between us grows deeper. And, I've worked really hard on my stagecraft to be the best storyteller that I can be. And like anything to art, it's always a process, and it's always evolving, and it's always growing. And I always feel as though the next show I'm going to discover something else to offer, and some other way of communicating the message in a deeper, more relevant way. And that's why I'm so inspired, and I love touring, because it's that constant challenge. And every show is different because of that. And telling stories brings you in. And that is, for me, the healthiest place to be, because I can spend way too much time thinking about the past. And generally, when my mind wanders in that direction, it leads me to areas of regret and loss. And, well, in fact, that's what Turn the Radio On is about. But we'll talk about that in another chat. I wanted to share with you the inspiration behind making a video for Turn the Radio On. And some of the challenges, I mean, first of all, I'm not a filmmaker. I don't have any gear. I have an iPhone and a cooperative husband and occasionally a cooperative pit bull who doesn't mind being on the set. But, there's a big learning curve as well. Final Cut Pro is not for the faint of heart. And it takes a certain amount of naivete and grit to roll up your sleeves and get in there. But I really that if I could find a way to present my craft of storytelling through the lens of my iPhone, as opposed to what I normally stagecraft on tour, on a stage in a room with people, then maybe I can find a way to continue the community, being part of the community, continue the connection with that music community. So the idea to do the video is immediately followed by where do you do a video in the middle of a pandemic? And I had a lot of great ideas, but none of them were viable options because everything in New York is still closed. So Will and I happened to go up to Maine over the summer. Things are pretty stressful here in New York, and we just wanted a change of scenery. I only insisted on bringing 3 things. My big, heavy, weighted keyboard, and it's the only keyboard I like playing because the keys actually feel like a real piano because they have weight to them. A chess set, and the dog. And when we got up to Maine, it was just shockingly beautiful. We had this really bucolic bed and breakfast right on the rocky shoreline with the wetlands and these really interesting rock formations. And that was it. I found my location to film the video. So I timed it just right. So Will, the keyboard, the dog, and I would make the trek to the waterfront, set up the shots, and film. And we spent several hours filming what I thought was going to be the most beautiful footage for y'all to see. Well, the sun and the reflection off the water was so beautiful that it just overexposed everything. Everything. There was nothing that we could use. And besides that, poor Will had his arm, and she had other ideas about being part of the film crew or running on the beach and playing. And she was pulling him. So the phone was constantly shaking in his hand. So besides being overexposed, watching just 30 seconds of this video, I was so seasick. So that was it. So I still have an idea, but I have no location. So I'm back in Brooklyn. And I'm telling Alan I'm working on something, and genius, I've got the idea. I decide to use all this Hollywood vintage footage. I don't have to be in it at all. And I create this piece, and I send it off to Alan, and I have to tell you, Alan and I have a great working relationship. He knows how to deal with artists, and he's very honest with me. And I couldn't wait for him to tell me how much he loved it, and in 3 words, he said, "I hate it." And I was, surprised and disappointed, but I always keep an open mind because, if you can't trust your manager. So he explained to me that, as your manager, it's a priority to make sure that you're in the video. You actually need to be in the video. So after an interesting discussion, I I sat down in my most comfortable chair, and I just tried to brainstorm some new ideas. And I leaned back in the chair and I looked up at the ceiling, like grabbing my head, and I'm staring at the ceiling, staring at the ceiling. I've got no ideas. And then all of a sudden, the roof, the roof. I can be quarantined on my roof. It's a really interesting visual spot for a shoot. So I grab the husband, the iPhone, the dog, not the keyboard. The other problem, you know, there's nothing like a loss of integrity when you're playing a keyboard that's not plugged in. So I scrapped that idea. And we start filming on the roof. Now the problem is we lost the fence that protects the, you see our roof, we're on the top floor, 5 floors, and right off the edge of that roof now is the pavement, and the fence is gone. And you know what, right away, you know, we're like, okay, leash the dog, tie her up so she's safe, fine, she's fine. We'll just be mindful where the edge is, because now we're filming, he's moving, I'm dancing, he's walking backwards, and it is, I know it, it's a great shot, maybe the best shot of the whole video, but he's getting close to the edge, and I'm debating, is he too close? Should we stop the shot? But it's a great shot. I mean, how far do we have to go with this? So, Will safe, folks. There's one simple word, cut, that I think maybe 100 times we had, you know, when he was getting too close to that edge, and he was, you know, that's how dedicated he is, right? So I'm really grateful to have his help, but we got some really wonderful footage for you to see right from my very own rooftop. And then, you know, there was, we went back to Maine. So I thought, okay, you know what, this time, maybe I can get some footage of me swimming in the ocean. You know, I'm very proud of being a certified lifeguard, and I can kind of show off my technique. So, shark attack. I mean, shark attack, a fatal shark attack, the first one in Maine's history, just 2-3 miles away from where we are. And you know what that does to your technique when you're thinking, you know, is there a shark in the water? I looked like I was drowning. I have to tell you the funniest thing. At the lighthouse the day of the shark attack, and happened to learn all about why the sharks are feeding closer to shore, because global warming is bringing their prey closer inland. And I mean, this horrific shark attack happened, you know, very close to the shore. So I mean, they've never even seen great white sharks there, but it happened. So I had all this newfound information and knowledge, and when we were down at the waterfront to get my video shots, all the news media is there to cover it, and Fox News comes over and grabs me for a statement. You know, they want to know, what do I think about it? And I was very happy to tell them all about global, here I am telling Fox News about global warming and you know, the risk to our environment. And then the reporter shows me innocently a picture of a bunch of dolphins that it had this horrific, like they were practically bit in half. And it was grotesque. Would you like to comment on this photo? And I said, ooh, God, psycho shark. And that was it. That was the only quote that they took. Psycho shark. So I will forever be known as the chick who said, yeah, psycho shark. Okay. So, what are you going to do? So we scrapped that idea. I couldn't, they're really, I couldn't swim. Nobody was swimming in the water, and it looked sort of ridiculous, you know, trying to fake it in deep water. So we're back in Brooklyn, and you know, I love horses, so I have to go horseback riding. I went, as you know, I went horseback riding on my birthday. And unfortunately, the transmission on the car blew up, and Will had to get a new car. That's not the bad news. But Ellie and Will waited patiently for me to go riding, and it was about an hour and a half of opportunity for Ellie to do her business outside of the car. But as soon as we got in the new car, we hear, should I do it? Okay. And Will and I look at each other like, no way, no way. And we turn around, and sure enough, Ellie has just spray painted the entire back seat of the car. She wasn't feeling well. So I spent more time cleaning up the car than I did on the horse. But anyway, you'll get to see some nice horse footage in this video too. So, which leads me now to the announcement that I would love to share this video with you. I'm going to put a link up. In fact, I will do it for you right now and invite you to jump over to YouTube, okay, where you will be able to see this video that I've been telling you about. The link is there right now. There it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to YouTube, and I'll hang out there for about a half hour, give you guys time to watch it, monitoring the comments. All right, so let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what you think of the video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, because we've got more stuff in the pipeline. I sort of got the bug now for finding this new expressive way of being a storyteller once again through the lens of my iPhone. So, folks, I invite you to watch the Turn the Radio On video with me over at the YouTube link, and I will see you over there shortly. All right, thanks so much, and I will see you next week. Same place, same time. Okay, be well.